Ever come across a story where something was just completely dismissed, maybe even, laughed at,
Mm.
only to completely transform years later into, like, an absolute legend?
Oh, yeah. Happens all the time.
Think about those movies that bombed but then became huge cult classics. Or that band nobody cared about until, bam, they're headlining festivals.
Right.
Well, today, we're doing a deep dive into something similar, but from the world of music gear. It's the incredible journey of the DOD Meatbox subharmonic synthesizer.
Ah, the Meatbox. What a story.
What's so compelling, looking through the sources we've gathered for this, is how often that initial misunderstanding, it really seems to set the stage for this cult following years down the line.
Mm-hmm.
It's a proper underdog story, isn't it? Innovation, rejection, and then this massive comeback in some really unexpected places.
Absolutely. And our mission today really is to unpack not just what this pedal was, because it was pretty unique, but crucially why it went from being, that dusty thing in the back of a pawn shop
Yeah, totally forgotten.
to this super coveted, almost secret weapon in studios, especially within certain specific music genres.
It's a fascinating curve.
It really is. It
Yeah.
says so much about innovation, about delayed appreciation, and how creative tools often find their real purpose in ways the makers never even dreamed of.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let's rewind. It's 1994.
Okay.
The company is DOD, that's Division of Digitech. And they were already known for pushing the envelope a bit, right? Making some pretty wild kind of niche effects pedals.
Definitely. They weren't afraid to get weird with it.
So that year, they introduced something with the full official name, the DOD FX32 Meatbox Subharmonic Synthesizer. Quite a mouthful.
It is. Sounds intense already.
And it was. This wasn't just like another EQ pedal,
No.
or some fancy overdrive.
Bro.
Its main function was as a subharmonic generator.
Yeah.
That means it didn't just boost the bass that was already there.
Right. That's key.
It actually created new bass frequencies, an entire octave below whatever you fed into it.
Which is a pretty radical concept for a pedal back then.
Totally. And initially, they aimed it squarely at bass players and DJs.
Which on paper makes perfect sense. Who needs more low end than bassists and DJs, right?
Exactly. It
Yeah.
seems like a slam dunk.
It does seem like a slam dunk, and that's what makes its initial flop so interesting.
Right.
Because even though that target audience seems obvious, it was apparently pretty poorly understood when it launched.
People just didn't get it.
Seems like it. Maybe they didn't quite grasp how to use that massive power effectively, or maybe their gear couldn't handle it.
Could be.
Whatever the reason, the result was it got discontinued pretty quickly, within just a few years.
Wow.
It's almost like a textbook case, isn't it? Of a technology maybe being too far ahead of its time, the market just wasn't quite ready to hear it, or maybe, more accurately, to feel what it could really do.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. When we actually look inside the meat box, at the circuit itself,
Let's do it.
the design was, well, unique is one word. Borderline audacious might be another. Our research shows its main function wasn't just creating signals an octave down that deep sort of gut punch drop.
Right.
It was specifically generating signals, an octave, and a fifth below the input.
Okay, an octave and a fifth. So for people maybe not deep into music theory, what does that mean practically?
It means it's adding another layer of deep, resonant bass. Think of a fifth as this really strong, consonant harmonic interval, but way, way down low. It creates this incredibly thick, almost foundational harmonic layer underneath everything.
Gotcha. So even more complex low-end generation than just a simple octave drop.
Exactly. And it didn't just add a little bass. It delivered this absolutely massive boost to low frequencies. Our sources say it often produced more sheer bass than the amplifier, or even the speakers themselves, could physically cope with.
Whoa.
It was like a full-on assault on the bottom end.
An assault is a good way to put it. And I guess to try and, tame that incredible power, maybe destructive is the word sometimes.
Yeah.
It had four main controls. You had sub, that was for the amount of the synthesized subharmonic stuff it was creating.
Right, dialing in the generated tone.
Then octave, which blended in that distinct octave down signal, sort of a mix control for that part.
Okay.
Then low, which was your more standard EQ boost or cut the existing bass frequencies going in.
Got it.
And finally, output, master volume. And the sources we looked at, they consistently say this thing was often just overwhelmingly hot, like really, really loud.
That makes sense. That hot output signal,
Yeah.
you can see how that ties directly into its later infamous reputation.
Absolutely. It's a key part of the legend.
And when you put all those controls together, you dialed it in, The sounds it made, the tonal characteristics were just wild.
I bet.
If you plugged a guitar into it, it didn't just make it sound muddy or bassy. The descriptions say things like synth-like, speaker rattling low end.
Synth-like.
No.
Interesting. Not just bassy guitar.
No, something different. And for bass players, it obviously thickened their tone massively, but sometimes, apparently, to the point of what the sources call dangerous low-frequency overload.
Dangerous overload, yikes. You can picture amps just giving up.
Totally. But maybe the most fascinating application was on synths, or drum machines. Using it there added this huge sub-bass that was, and I love this quote, often felt more than heard.
Felt more than heard. That phrase just nails it, doesn't it?
It really does.
It perfectly captures how the Meatbox wasn't just about shaping sound in the usual way. It was about transforming it into something physical, visceral.
Yeah.
It wasn't aiming for clarity or, nice articulation down there. It was about moving air. It was about that rumble deep in your chest. What stands out to you about a pedal designed to be felt more than heard?
It just feels so extreme,
Yeah.
so committed to one specific, almost primal aspect of sound. It wasn't trying to be versatile in the conventional sense.
Exactly. It had one job, and it did it with terrifying intensity.
And yet, despite that incredible power, that physical presence, it still tanked commercially.
Crazy, isn't it?
The original run, 1994 into the late 90s, total commercial flop.
Yeah.
It just vanished from the DOD catalogs
Go on.
and got relegated to, those dusty pawn shop shelves, forgotten corners of music stores.
Just waiting.
Exactly. Just waiting. Because then, in the early 2000s, maybe into the 2010s, something really remarkable starts to happen. The cult revival era kicks off.
Ah, the rediscovery.
Yeah. Electronic artists, producers looking for new sounds, adventurous bass players, people hungry for unique, really impactful low end. They start stumbling upon these forgotten boxes.
Finding them cheap, probably.
Oh, for sure, initially. They pick them up, plug them in, and recognize this raw, just unadulterated sub-bass power that nothing else quite delivered.
And the word starts to spread.
Totally. Suddenly, these unwanted pedals become these prized possessions, and the prices on the used market, they just skyrocketed. Original units started fetching, like $300, $500, sometimes even more. Quite a turnaround for something that was basically considered junk.
It's an amazing shift. And that cult following, it became so strong, so vocal, that DOD, who were operating under the Digitech umbrella, by then, they actually decided to reissue it in 2015.
No way. They brought it back.
They did. It was part of this whole DOD revival series they were doing, bringing back some of their classic, quirky pedals.
How close was the reissue to the original?
Apparently incredibly faithful, same circuit, same insanity, but crucially, updated for modern stuff, like standard power supplies, better reliability, small tweaks, but important for modern players.
Sure. Makes it easier to actually use on a pedal board.
Exactly. And if we, connect this to the bigger picture, the very fact that a company bothers to resurrect a pedal that failed commercially the first time around, that speaks volumes about its legacy, right? It had genuinely transformed from this pawn shop cast-off into what some people were calling a bass holy grail. That reissue was clear validation, proof that this weird, extreme pedal had carved out this undeniable niche for itself based on its unique sound.
So, okay, who were these people? Who were the artists, the trailblazers, who looked past that initial failure and really made the Meatbox sing? Or maybe I should say made it growl.
Huh. Yeah, growl is probably more accurate.
Let's dive into that roster. The users who brought this thing's impact to life. I mean, Juan Alderete comes to mind immediately.
Absolutely. A key figure.
Known for his incredible, groundbreaking work with the Mars Volta Racer X. He's just legendary for experimental bass tones.
And the Meatbox was definitely part of his arsenal for getting some of those really extreme, speaker-punishing, low-end textures. He wasn't afraid to push boundaries, and neither was the Meatbox.
A perfect match, then.
Pretty much. And it wasn't just individual artists like Juan, famous players. The Meatbox got adopted pretty quickly as, a secret weapon by producers, particularly in hip-hop and EDM.
Ah, okay. For the sub-bass drops.
Exactly. For them, it was gold, perfect for crafting those really deep, chest-rattling sub-frequencies that became such a signature of those genres. That foundational thump you feel way more than you actually hear in a club or at a festival.
Right, that physical impact again.
That physical impact. It delivered it like nothing else.
You bet. And it wasn't just electronic music either. Doom metal, stoner metal bassists.
Yeah.
They jumped on this thing too, right?
Oh, yeah, big time. They totally embraced it. They used it to create this absolutely earthquake-like low end. Sounds that could genuinely feel like they were overwhelming the entire room.
Just adding this crushing physical weight to those already heavy riffs.
Precisely. Imagine a sound so thick, so powerful, it literally feels like the floor is vibrating beneath your feet. That's the kind of territory the Meatbox opened up for them.
Intense.
And then you've got the noise artists, the experimental folks.
The really outer limits.
Exactly. They really pushed its capabilities. They weren't just looking for low end. They were exploiting its ability to create genuinely destructive, speaker-shredding tones. Sonic extremity was the goal.
Not just music, but pure sound manipulation.
Right. And this really raises an important question for us, I think. How did this tool, which was so misunderstood and failed commercially at first, how did it find its absolute perfect home in these really extreme, adventurous corners of the sound world?
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It clearly wasn't for everyone, but for those specific artists who understood its unique, raw potential, it became utterly essential. Irreplaceable, even.
Which brings us nicely to its infamous legacy and some of the wild stories that surround it. This thing definitely earned a reputation, the whole speaker killer thing.
Oh, yeah. That's probably its biggest claim to fame or infamy.
I remember seeing forum posts back in the day practically screaming, "Use at your own risk."
Ah, yeah, for good reason.
Because, let's be real, you crank this beast carelessly, you hook it up wrong, maybe push it into an amp not ready for it, and boom, your gig could be suddenly silently over with a blown speaker cone.
Definitely. It demanded respect. Did our sources mention any specific, epic tales of sonic destruction? Any legendary blowouts?
Oh, absolutely. There are definitely anecdotes floating around. One account mentioned a producer, supposedly, who was trying to get the perfect sub drop for some hip-hop track. And apparently managed to actually rattle the plaster off his studio wall.
Get out!
And took out an entire monitor stack in the process. Just silenced it.
Wow. Okay, so it wasn't just hype then. It really could cause some serious mayhem. Less of a rumble, more of an internal explosion.
Exactly. It earned that speaker killer name, honestly, it seems. Showing just how much raw, untamed power it could unleash if you weren't careful.
It really cemented that journey, didn't it? From being this forgotten pawnshop pedal.
Yeah, considered useless.
To this cult icon.
Hi.
Hailed by some as a genuine bass holy grail, it's quite the transformation.
That's incredible. And what's also fascinating, beyond the potential destruction, is its surprising role as a studio secret weapon. It wasn't just about blowing up amps live.
Exactly. That's a really key part of its later life. Producers discovered it had immense value beyond just plugging an instrument straight into it. Well, they started using it for specific production tasks, like running kick drum samples through it to really fatten them up, give them that huge foundational subweight.
Okay. Processing existing sound.
Right. Or adding that really deep presence to synth bass lines and recordings, making them sit right down at the bottom of the mix in a way other things couldn't.
Interesting.
And apparently, some producers ended up using it more for these kinds of nuanced production jobs than actual guitarists or bassists were using it on their instruments directly.
Really?
Yeah, which just highlights its versatility, Its utility stretched far beyond what DOD probably first imagined. It was about creating that specific sub-presence that engineers and producers were chasing.
So when you look at the whole picture, the DOD Meatbox, from its original run back in '94 through the quiet years, the rediscovery, the reissue, it really stands as one of the most extreme and maybe one of the most profoundly misunderstood pedals in effects history.
I think that's fair to say, yeah.
It was essentially a subharmonic synthesizer crammed into a stomp box.
Disguised as just another pedal.
Right. And it could transform guitars, basses, synths, drum machines into these speaker-shredding low-frequency monsters.
Monsters is a good word for it.
And even though it was pretty much ignored when it first came out, it found this whole new life decades later in electronic music and metal and experimental stuff.
Achieving that true cult status.
Yeah, because it filled a need. It did something extreme that really no other pedal quite did in the same way.
So what does this all mean for us looking back? I mean, this journey of the Meatbox, it really is a powerful testament, isn't it, to the idea that sometimes innovation just needs time. It needs time to find its audience. And that sometimes sheer raw sonic power, maybe even genius, it can be initially misunderstood, even dismissed entirely, before its true potential is finally recognized.
What an absolutely incredible journey for a piece of gear that was By all commercial metrics, a total flop initially.
Right. Failure turned into legend.
It's just such a powerful reminder that, yeah, true innovation doesn't always hit big on day one. It
Yeah.
doesn't always get the big marketing push or the instant acclaim.
No, sometimes it has to lie dormant, kind of wait in the weeds.
Yeah, waiting for the right ears, the right context, the right need to emerge before it can truly shine.
Indeed. And it really encourages us, I think, to maybe look around and wonder what other overlooked innovations might be out there right now, waiting for their moment.
Yeah.
Things that were maybe too radical for their time, or maybe just too specialized for the mainstream taste back then.
That's a great point. Things dismissed as too weird, too niche.
Exactly. It sort of challenges us, doesn't it, to think about how we actually define success when it comes to creativity and technology. Is commercial viability, that initial sales chart, always the only metric that really matters in the long run?
That is a fantastic thought to leave you all with, something to definitely mull over. What else is out there waiting for its meatbox moment?
Hmm.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into a true sonic enigma, a real piece of effects history.
Been fascinating to revisit it.